All right, welcome back. We continue live right here on Pittsburgh CW. Bob Pompeani along with Gene Collier. You see the number at 412-575-2600. That's the Borders and Borders hotline on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. So before I get on to another subject, got some tweets I want to get to. Wody on Twitter says, hey, Bob, stop talking about the Brewers like they're a model organization. Who cares what they do? Well, you should care, Woody, because they're in the division, and they are similar, if not smaller, when it comes to quote market size, and here they are going for it when they had a really good year, up and coming year with some good young players like Shaw at third base. They have a lot of other guys too coming up, and they're adding to that mix, and that's why it's relevant, Gene.
Absolutely. I don't think we're talking like they're a model organization. We're talking about them like they're a better organization than the Pirates right now. That's all.
Yes, Dave Palladino says the Pirates actually have done something, but it was getting rid of everyone. That's his tweet. Let us know what you think. Now let's talk about one other thing, and that's the XFL 2020 coming back.
Right.
Vince McMahon has decided he's going to give another run at this. And boy, today in his press conference, Gene, I just want to get your take on this because he kept mentioning how we value the national anthem. The national anthem will always be in, and our players will be out there standing for the national anthem. He said there will be no instant replay reviews. There will be no defenseless players out there. It's, in other words, going to be raw on a football field.
It's the Donald Trump Football League. That's exactly what that is.
What do you think? Do you think that has a chance of succeeding?
No.
So what would be your definition of failure then?
I mean, it'll fold within a year like it did last time.
Within a year?
Didn't it?
I thought it was longer than that. I thought they had a pretty good run to start. I can't remember exactly. If someone
confuse,
out there knows that, call us.
Don't confuse it with the USFL.
No. I'm talking about the XFL.
You think the XFL
and Tommy Maddox was in it, I remember.
More than a year.
It seems to me it did, but I don't remember.
Bob, I'm not saying you're wrong.
I don't know if I'm wrong. I
can't remember.
Let's go to
Monday's show.
Let's go to Tim in McKeesport. Hey, Tim, do you remember XFL first time?
Sure, I do. That's where you had He Hate Me.
He hate me, right?
That's all I remember.
That's all I remember. It lasted more than a year or just 1 year? I can't remember that.
I think it was maybe a year and a half or two. Yeah, it was more than a year, but not much more.
Okay. What's on your mind?
There's a trading deadline, and like you say, Cole's been hung out to dry, and you got Connor Sheary, possibly Speedy Ford. You got some spare parts to get rid of, but these two goalies, I think Smith looks like he could back up Murray for a couple of years. Do you trade one of them goalies and bundle them with one of those players to try to do something? I mean, we're in line for a third Stanley Cup. I mean, you got to try to do as much as you can, and we do seem to have some spare parts this year. And Jari, he's going to want a contract. I don't know how much time he's got left.
Yeah, but Jari is only 22. He was drafted to be a franchise goaltender, so I don't think that's going to happen. Although they have another one that they drafted recently, Philip Gustafsson, so, whether or not he's good or bad, I don't know. But, Gene, I don't think that would be part. I think they like their goaltender depth. I think they're all young. Smith's the oldest one there. Everybody else, Murray's 23. Jari's 22. I wouldn't mess with that.
And I don't find Connor Sheary particularly expendable either. I mean, I think he's still has great aptitude and great potential. So, but you're right. The Penguins will do something. They always do something. I can't remember a year where they did nothing. People would go nuts.
All right, back to the lines we go. We have Shaler, Pennsylvania. John is on the line in Shaler. Hey, John.
Hi, Bob. I wanted to talk about the Pirates trading away Cole and McCutcheon and all these players. They seem like they're a farm club for all the rest of the major league teams. As soon as they develop somebody good, they trade them away.
It was interesting. Thanks for the call, Gene. What Scott Boros said yesterday when talking to Rob Beertemple. And first of all, Scott Boros says what he says, and I don't know if his numbers are factual. However, if the Pirates want to dispute it, the only way you can dispute it is to provide other numbers and show people what the real numbers are if you want to do that. But typically, teams don't like to open up the book, so to speak. But if it's true or close to it, they're making a whole bunch of money over there, and they should have the wherewithal to pay and up the payroll. And I've said that for years, so I still believe that.
No, you're right. I mean, Scott Boras's position is always that players are underpaid. But, what he's saying in this case is accurate because baseball is swimming in money all the way down to the Pirates. I mean, there are no teams that are not profitable and really extremely profitable.
Kevin Davis on Twitter says, how does Jeter get more from Milwaukee for Yelich than Huntington got from San Francisco for Kutch? Well, first of all, Yelich is in his 20s. He signed to a very nice contract for $50 million. He's going to make $7 million, but he's up and coming. He's a young kid who had 18 home runs, 81 RBI. If you might remember last year, he played ahead of McCutchen in the World Baseball Classic. He's a young kid. What I don't understand here is, Gene, is that Miami Marlins, Derek Jeter and this new ownership came right in, and what did they do? They got rid of, talking about some of the best prospects and current people in the game. Giancarlo Stanton. Marcell Ozuna is as good as anyone. He's a poor man's Stanton, but he's very good. Yelich is right behind him. And who else they use? They get rid of somebody else too. Yeah, but the bottom line is I don't understand what they're doing. They have young, good, talented guys. Then now they're trading all them away too.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Jeter is not getting good reviews to this point.
No. All right, let's go out to Bill in Castle Shannon. Joins us right now on the Sports Call. Hey, Bill.
How you doing, Bob?
What's up?
Hey, I want to talk about the Penguins and the Steelers. I got to tip my hat off to Sullivan because he's a great coach and he knows how to turn that team around.
Well, I mean, the Eastern Conference is not, and you're right, the Eastern Conference is a group, I think, minus Tampa Bay. I don't know if I see many dominant teams. I think the Penguins are the most talented team still in the East, maybe next to Tampa. Everyone else, I mean, the Islanders, the Flyers, Columbus, that whole Metro division, Carolina, the Rangers, the Islanders, they all have warts.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I think the Penguins are still probably the most talented team. Tampa Bay is having the best season and, you know, has played the best from start to right now. But you're right, everybody else is kind of in the same boat there.
Michael Smith on Twitter at KD Gene Collier says, guys, what would you think Bell's salary should be? 15 or 16 million. What do you think the guaranteed money will be if they agree to a long-term deal? Which is something that Bell seems to make, that they're making. I don't know if I believe that necessarily. Do you think they will sign him long-term? And if so, what should the numbers be?
I have no idea because I really don't believe anything Le'Veon Bell says, and I haven't for years. He says they're closer than they've ever been. I have no idea whether that's true. What I know is that the Steelers are pretty prudent about this thing, and I think they'll probably franchise him again. In that case, he says he might sit out, which also I don't believe.
Well, I don't believe that either. He has too much to play for. I think he's going to have to come down. If you're asking me for numbers, you know, he was offered a lot last year. I don't think he'll get that duplicate package in return. I think the Steelers will shoot lower, and if he wants to take it, go ahead.
I don't think you're going to see a contract with that averages out to $15 million.
No.
I just don't think that's going to happen.
And regardless of what he says, there's no way that you pay him as a top running back and a second kind of wide receiver. It's one and the same. That's his position, and he will be paid accordingly by somebody. Let's go to Jay in Morningside. Hey, Jay, how you doing?
Hey, hello. Thanks for taking the call here, Bob. My question on both issues are with, you know, we had an issue with Bobby Bonilla. We go back to 1999. Him with being the Pirates, he extended the contract. They gave him $1 million when he went to the Mets or whatever. He's being paid $1.1 million now, even through now. Bell,
best
on
contract
the
in sports.
Steelers side, why is it that he could, if he's a team player, take the side, come down on contractual things, deal with the safeties and who we really need to make us a Super Bowl contender?
Because he's not going to do that. I mean, it's about what you can get. You know, running back doesn't have a big shelf life. He's going to try to get as much money as he should. That's the way it goes. I think the Steelers have a really interesting question, Gene, and that is, are we better off with the same exact offense, which is a very good offense, or can we be just as good, maybe slightly less good, but still good enough if we save his money and put it toward the defense, which I think needs more help?
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers' defense is not anywhere close to what they'd hoped it would be at this point. Now, a major part of that, of course, is Ryan Shazier's injury. So it's a more urgent situation than it was 2 months ago. So if you see the Steelers do something like, you know, commit more of their money to the defense now, really even at the expense of letting Bell go, I mean, that wouldn't be a total surprise.
Pete Hiles has helped us out here on Twitter. Thank you very much, Pete. He says the XFL lasted one season, 2001. You were right, Gene. So seemed like it lasted a lot longer than that for some reason. I don't know why.
It was tedious, that's for sure.
All right, let's go to one more before we go to break, and that would be Spike in Johnstown. Hey, Spike, what's up?
Yeah, hey, thanks for taking the call, Bob.
Yes,
you know, back to the Pirates, I'm looking at salary overall for the Pirates about $68 million, which will get them their 68 wins. And tell me about that $7.5 million that Nutting put in his pocket last year from Gung, Marte, Watson, and Nicasio, and
they're prime examples. You're right.
Probably about $40 million in his pocket in the overall. You don't like to get negative adjectives to describe Nutting, but that's about the only thing you can do.
So, Gene, what?
Why not?
He is. Every one of those guys he described was money savings. Every move they make is about saving money.
Right. Really, if they go into this season with a $68 million payroll, I mean, really, that's an embarrassment.
They won't do that. They'll bring somebody. They have to. You think? Okay, we'll take a break. 412-575-2600. More coming back right after this on Pittsburgh CW.